On December 2nd, 2022, in Riceboro, Georgia, the cold winter air hung heavy among the trees. Several hunters pushed through the brush, never imagining their steps would uncover a terrifying mystery hidden in that forest. On the wet ground, they found a torn plastic bag. From within it, a human body part hung limply. They froze. No words were spoken, only horrified glances exchanged. This was not just a murder, this was mutilation. When the police arrived, the horror intensified. Other body parts were found scattered over a radius of nearly 5 kilometers. A gruesome puzzle seemingly deliberately left behind. It didn't take long for the police to uncover the victim's identity. Mindi Mebane Kassotis, a writer, entrepreneur, and wife of Nicholas Kassotis, a former elite U.S. Navy officer. Who is Nicholas Kassotis?
Is expected to start tomorrow. Nicholas Kassotis is facing multiple charges for the murder of Mindi Kassotis in Liberty County.
The selection process took around 3 hours in all, with both sides zeroing in on jurors they did and did not want on the case. The prosecution focused.
Unlike you, I have cried a lot over the last few weeks. My thoughts, anxiety, and emotions have been a roller coaster.
On paper, his track record was almost spotless. A Navy JAG Corps officer, a law enforcer in the military environment, holder of 2 law degrees, and known as a respected military prosecutor. His life was a portrait of discipline and honor until these terrible accusations dragged his name into the courtroom. Now that image is shattered. Nicholas Kassotis, the guardian of the law, sits in the defendant's chair in the brutal murder and mutilation case of his own wife. For the prosecution, the case was clear. They accused Kassotis of cruelly murdering his wife, then using his knowledge of law and investigation to erase every trace. The evidence also seemed to strengthen their case. There were records of purchases of knives and power saws whose patterns matched the wounds on Mindy's body. More than that, his cell phone location record showed he was exactly in the area where the body parts were disposed of. For the prosecution, this was a snare that was difficult to escape. His domestic background also came into the spotlight. Before marrying Mindy, Kassotis went through a bitter divorce that left him with a financial burden of nearly $1.5 million. According to the prosecution, this pressure was the spark that ignited the tragedy. Months after Mindy's death, Kassotis married another woman. This step was seen by the prosecution as an attempt to start a new life while burying a bloody past. His other behaviors were also highly suspicious. He lived under many aliases and often moved from place to place, as if on the run. For the prosecution, all of this was a maneuver to avoid capture. But on the other side of the courtroom, the defense offered a completely different story. They admitted Kassotis' life was full of secrets, but not to cover up a murder. According to them, it was a secret for survival. It all started with one mysterious name, Jim McIntyre. He claimed to be an FBI agent and warned that Kassotis' and Mindy's lives were in great danger. Since then, their lives became an endless flight. City after city, identity after identity, always shadowed by fear. The problem is there's no proof that Jim McIntyre ever truly existed. No records at the FBI, no witnesses, no digital footprint. The prosecutor called him a fiction created by Kassotis to twist the story. But the defense insisted the threat was real, and that was why Kassotis lived like a fugitive. The trial became a clash of two opposing narratives between the physical evidence and digital traces from the prosecution against the story of an invisible threat from the defense. This was no longer just a murder case, but a psychological drama about who Nicholas Kassotis truly was. His expertise as a Navy JAG officer became a double-edged sword. The prosecution claimed that expertise was used to plan the perfect murder and clean the crime scene. Conversely, the defense asserted that this expertise actually allowed him to evade the deadly threats that loomed over him.
Have you had sufficient time to discuss this with your attorney?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
And is this your decision?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And it is your decision alone?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
May I also put on the record that I did advise my...
Public opinion was divided. It was difficult to imagine a respected law enforcement officer committing such a crime. Was he a cunning manipulator hiding behind a uniform, or a victim caught in a conspiracy? This case attracted global attention, not only because of its brutality, but also because it shook faith in the integrity of the justice system. The shadow of his past as a military officer continued to influence how the public judged him. The question is, can the court truly be neutral? As the forensic testimony was read, the courtroom was filled with tension. The fractures in Mindi's skull, the defensive wounds on her hands, and the precise pattern of mutilation made anyone who heard it nauseous. For the prosecution, this was a sign of a killer who knew exactly what he was doing. The defense did not deny the brutality, but refused to link it to Kassotis. Day by day, the trial turned into a public spectacle. Mystery, tragedy, and legal drama combined before the jury. But for the victim's family, every detail revealed only deepened the wound. For Kassotis, this was his last battle, not on the battlefield, but in the courtroom, before 12 jurors who held his future. History will record him as an exemplary officer turned murderer, or as a man destroyed by threats he could never prove. In the end, The Disappearing Commander is not just a story about a missing wife, it is a story of the collapse of trust in a figure once admired and the loss of faith in the system he once defended. The prosecution closed their arguments with a sharp gaze at the jury. No one else could have done this but the defendant. The defense countered with a question hanging in the air. Will you convict someone without direct evidence and call that justice? Amidst all the theories and debates, one thing is undeniable. Mindi Mebane Kassotis lost her life in the most brutal way. Her voice will never be heard again. Only others' interpretations of what happened to her remain. When the jury entered the deliberation room, the door closed tightly. Outside, everyone held their breath. Inside, 12 ordinary people held the fate of a man who once wielded great power in the military. A stinging irony, the law enforcer now awaited the law's verdict. The Disappearing Commander case is a mirror reflecting the dark side of a hero and questioning how thin the line is between truth and lies. Like the body parts found on that cold day, we only have fragments of facts, fragments of testimony, and fragments of memories. These pieces must be put together, but the complete picture may never truly be seen. Whatever the final court ruling, one mystery will always linger. Was Nicholas Kassotis a cold-blooded murderer who planned every detail, or a victim of a game much larger than himself? What is certain is that in this world, justice often walks on the edge of a precipice between reality, perception, and the shadows we create ourselves.
And dismembering her body is expected to start tomorrow. Nicholas Kassotis is facing multiple charges for the murder of Mindi Kassotis in Liberty County.
The selection process took around 3 hours in all, with both sides zeroing in on jurors they did and did not want on the case. The prosecution...
Unlike you, I have cried a lot over the last few weeks. My thoughts, anxiety, and emotions have been a roller coaster.
Question
They have
stopped.
been all.
I actually was not expecting at all to relate to any type of question, but as a student myself, I write for school and I write for myself. So it's very eye-opening to see like how specific they get into those questions.